Hello and welcome back for another installment in our Courtroom Confidential Conversation series, where we are pulling back the curtain on some of the voices and faces in true crime you've likely seen, heard, and maybe even followed for years. We're talking to creators, podcasters, YouTubers, the people who dig deep into the cases we discuss every week. But now we're turning the spotlight on the storytellers themselves, digging deep into their story to find out what influenced their journey into true crime, what fuels their passion, and the moments that have shaped their path. I'm your host, Joshua Ritter, an award-winning Los Angeles prosecutor turned criminal defense attorney with over 15 years experience navigating the criminal justice system. For this episode, please join me in welcoming Linda from the popular YouTube channel, It's a Crime. Hey, Linda, how are you?
I'm good, Josh. Nice to see you.
Very good to see you. I know you've been very busy. Every time we talk, we've been trying to get together like this, and you're swamped with all the work you're doing. And I know that's well, I want to get into all of that, but I for the most part, I know that you're putting together this whole channel and all your content almost as a one woman show, right?
Yeah, for the most part, yep.
That's fantastic. I can appreciate what that means, knowing how much work goes into all of this stuff to be doing that. I feel like I could employ a 12-person staff of folks full time with the amount of work that goes into all of this stuff. So if you're doing it like we are on kind of a shoelace budget, I appreciate the effort that goes into all of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think if I had 12, I still would need more,
I
right?
know. Yeah, it's one of those things where you expand. There never seems to be enough people, enough hands to handle the amount of work that you have when you're trying to put together content like this. So again,
Yeah.
thank you for taking the time. Uh, the point of these conversations, and we've been really enjoying talking to different creators, podcasters, YouTubers, authors, in the true crime space is because you have so many people who've been subscribers of you for so many years. You've built this beautiful community of people, and they may know little bits here and there about your journey and about your story, but we wanted to kind of give an opportunity to put that all together in one spot. So thank you for doing this and allowing us to ask a little bit about your life. So let's start, from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up, where you came from, what life was like in the early years for Linda.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm a twin. So
Oh,
I have a twin brother, and I grew up in a small little town in British Columbia, Canada. I'm just little small town girl and grew up with my twin brother, was pretty close to him for a lot of years. I mean, you kind of have to be.
what did he go on to do? Is he involved in the true crime space? How
Oh,
did the
no, he's kind of the complete opposite to me. Different music, different life, different actually maybe he's kind of the same. We both like to talk. So I guess there's that. I have two older sisters as well. And so it's kind of different because you grow up with two sort of families.
Mm.
And then, we have quite a bit of age difference between us. So it's kind of the same works through my whole life really like that with age difference because my kids are also age gap as well. So yeah, it was a fun little childhood. You got to play with my brother all the time and a little bit of a tomboy growing up with one girlfriend and really best friend. I mean, I have friends, but
when when you were at what point in your growing up, did you start to realize kind of what your calling was in life? When you first were thinking about maybe going to school, going to college, what were your ambitions initially?
well, this is so interesting because I grew up in music. So music, piano, singing, vocal jazz, band. I played the
Oh, wow.
saxophone. I also acted. And so it was more like theater. But as I got into the teenage years, I started really liking um, law and was going, I'm really interested in law. I want to maybe pursue that, become a prosecutor. And that kind of started in my teens. So I kind of had this both analytical mind and also a musical creative mind, which is what I understand is a little bit different. Usually one person's one or the other, but I'm kind
Yeah.
of both. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, not many look I feel like I fell into that category a little bit too, like to have a creative side to you, a interest in performance maybe, but you're right. I think most lawyers, that not all, but most people who go into that field are probably much more of a analytical book-minded sort of a person. What happened? Did you finally decide against law school?
Well, it was kind of like life happened. So, as I was a teenager, I was gearing up for that. And then, because I lived in a small town, I was moving to a major city and have been there off and on for, I don't know, I think it's been 30 years. Long time. But I never ended up going to law school. I went and worked numerous jobs kind of thing to be on my own. And life happened, had kids, never got to go to law school, which, some days I kicked myself and some days it's like, thank God, there's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
Although, yeah.
At what point did you start to think to yourself that it's not just the law, but maybe this kind of true crime world that was interesting to you?
Well, this is the thing. So in my teens, it was the era of OJ Simpson. And
Yeah.
my dad and I would, he's driving me to school. And back then, there's no cell phones.
Yeah.
Probably the big bag phones, maybe back then.
Right.
Like the big,
I remember
hello.
my
It's like a whole,
sister was one of the first people to get one, and it was this huge brick that you carried
yeah,
around. It was so cool though at the time.
it was that big. And it was just like big chunky hello.
Yeah.
But there wasn't that. We just had landlines back then. Hopefully, I'm not dating myself too much, but so I would go to school and my dad would drive me and we would have chit chats about the trial and we would talk in depth. And I just started getting so interested in the details, which I still am like that, but the details and that's in and around the area where I wanted to, maybe I should pursue law. I really like this and always have the justice card in me, just even with my twin brother.
Mm.
Why does
Yeah.
he get to do that and I don't get to do that? This isn't right. Right? This kind of thing. So, yeah, and it just started off with OJ Simpson and then I thought I really am into this and I really um like the details.
Was your father involved in that world at all, or was he just like you, just had an interest in this case?
Yeah, I think he just had the interest and um he wasn't like into true crime. I mean, back then
Right.
it's not really like that, but he we would watch on TV about OJ and the news and all that. And again, there's nothing back then that really, I mean, the internet just came out in what, 94, 95, or whatever it was, right? So,
Isn't that crazy to think about how
I
it
know.
wasn't really all that long ago?
No,
Was
it wasn't.
did you guys actually watch the trial during the day?
Yeah, I remember watching it. I remember it's just a little while ago, but I remember talking about it and just, yeah, going through the whole thing. I could still remember parts where they're standing there, with the whole
Yeah.
glove and all that. I like, yeah, it's been a while since I've gone
Bur
to.
Moments burned into our collective psyche, I think, is watching him try on that glove.
Yeah, yeah, I do remember bits of that. So that was kind of one of those things that I got to be with my dad too, is to have that bond, I guess, is so different when, boys and dads and girls and dads, and we just would talk at length about it. So probably me more so than my dad.
I think for people in our, I'm trying to think of the most diplomatic, delicate way of saying people of our generation, uh, OJ was a real watershed kind of moment. I don't care if you had an interest in true crime or not. It was just such a newsworthy moment, and I think the idea that he came from the sports world was
Hmm.
part of it. The idea that he came from the entertainment world. I mean, when I knew him, I wasn't like, I'm not old enough to be like, oh, I remember him on the Buffalo Bills. I remember him as an actor and just kind of this likable, kind of always big smile on his face, sort of an actor. And living in Los Angeles at the time, it really struck home. I mean, the Bronco chase took place within minutes of where I lived, so it was very much, when I was watching it, or, in my teen years in high school, it was kind of this thing that was happening in our community. And so it's fascinating to me that even up in Canada, it was still kind of a cultural moment, I guess.
Oh, yeah, for sure, and what's interesting about that now I can't remember the exact year that was. Do you remember the year? Was it 93, 94?
90, I should know this off of the top of my head. I think 94. I think you're right. You
Something
you
like
you
that.
keep talking to me about it, and I'm gonna confirm that while we're
Yeah, no, it's
talking.
all good.
Yeah.
So around I guess it would have been in 2000, I actually lived in Los Angeles for just under a year. And so when you were talking about the chases, I remember watching a high-speed chase actually on the news while I lived down there, and, uh, and didn't live too far from Brentwood because I believe it happened in Brentwood, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah.
murders took place in Brentwood, which, like I said, was minutes away from where I was living and grew up.
Yeah, that I remember that. So it was interesting perspective from that as well. But yeah, Canada was huge, and not long after was John Bonet as well. So
Yeah. And right before that was the Menendez brothers, which we're still talking about to this
right,
day. Yeah. Yeah, OJ, the verdict was October 3rd of 1995, and he was actually the murders took place earlier that year, which was also kind of a fascinating part about it, because it happened so quickly. The murders, and then he was on trial, and then we had the verdict, and it all took place within the same calendar year, which is usually not how these things
right
go. Now, it takes several
now.
years for them to go to trial, but this one he didn't waive time. And I don't want to get too much of the weeds on OJ, but it is such a fascinating case that a lot of people point to that case as being kind of their starting point in a fascination in true crime.
Yeah.
Did it kind of develop from there for you? Were you like, oh wow, this is a world I could maybe see myself getting involved in?
Yeah, for quite a few years. I remember even I was pregnant the same time as Lacey Peterson.
Oh wow.
In the Scott Peterson case, and I remember that as well. I just had my son, or I was pregnant around that same time, so that was pretty, an emotional kind of thing too. But yeah, it kept going. I had the interest in true crime in these cases, fascinated by the details. Why would a person do that? Going through those things, what happens next, all the things. But there came a time, I think fast forward, I just kind of stopped for a while watching all that. Some of it got a little overwhelming, especially fast forwarding to the Chris Watts case. This is before I was even on YouTube. I took some time not watching as I couldn't handle it. A lot of the details, you just need a break. And I hear a
Yeah.
lot of people say that. I just needed a break. So I did, and then picked it up again, and here we are.
Do you feel that it can, this is kind of an aside of a question, but do you feel that it can be a world, a hobby, a fascination that can be emotionally draining, because you are talking about devastation and murders and horrible things, and then people going off to prison for a long time?
Yeah, 1000%. 1000%. I think um, after a while, if we are diving down these deep, dark holes, so to speak, and details, and it's constantly running in our heads, I think it has an effect. And I think to a big degree, and I think a lot of people do need to take a little bit of a break. I did too.
Do you mind talking about that?
No,
Telling us
not
about
at all.
Tell us about that. Did you find, because now it is your world, right? I mean, it's a daily, weekly thing that you deal with. Did you find that it was like, I just need a breather from all of this?
Yeah, and as recent as this past year, even I had a lot of stuff happen behind the scenes in my personal life, a friend pass away, a dear friend, and the hardest part is as you go through that, my dad had a heart attack, but as you go through all this, the last thing you kind of want to do is dive into details of murder. And
Yeah.
But on the flip side, there are a lot of people who have, commented on my videos that sometimes they need a break from their real life,
Yeah,
and they go and dive into these details so they don't, think about their own. So it's so interesting
yeah.
how it affects people.
God, that's such a good point that I haven't really thought about because you're right. I'm one of those people that when stresses are taking place in my personal life, and I'm very sorry to hear about the tragedy that you've had with your friend, in dealing with the stress of your father and everything else. But when I've gone through periods of like that in my life, there are some people who dig into their work and they dive in, and that's their way of kind of finding escape. I'm not one of those people. I'm one of those people who like needs a break and needs to just kind of unplug from everything. And I could see where true crime is probably not the place where I would find relief from my troubles. It might cause further kind of stress to deal with the darkness, the dark side to all of it. But then there are some people, and I'm curious to hear why you think that might be, who it is a escape for them. I mean, it's kind of almost become a joke about, stay-at-home mothers or something, and they're doing the laundry and doing taking care of the kids, and they've got some true crime
In
documentary
the
playing on,
background.
and just this or horrible, horrible stuff in the background. But it is this kind of escape, and I wonder why do you think that is?
I think this I did a little research a few years back of, it's predominantly women who
Mm,
listen to this, and I think it's at a different level than what one might think from the outside. Like, why is this mom deep diving into true crime? But a lot of women feel that if they know the details of what happened, that they can protect themselves.
wow.
So it goes to that level. And sometimes if they're having a bad day too, I mean, who knows what they're going through, right? They might be in a situation where it's not safe or whatever. They feel like they want to go on. Maybe it's just curiosity. Maybe they're, wanting to know, like, why is that guy such a jerk?
Mm,
Like,
mhm.
"Oh, why is he doing that?" But yeah, it's fascinating and weird all at the same time. And people say to me too, "Oh, Linda, I fall asleep to some of your videos." And you're like, "Wow,
Yeah, yeah.
going to sleep
But
listening to."
that's high praise though, I feel like. They take such comfort in hearing you, and it's something that kind of brings them to a place where they, feel safe.
Well, it's just kind of funny when you first hear you going,
Yeah,
"You're listening to me while you go to sleep." I'm like, "We love your voice." Like, wow, my
yeah.
twin brother never would have say that to me. Mm.
And I'm gonna say this too, and I'm just gonna kind of get it out, and you tell me if you think I'm totally wrong or not. And I'm probably gonna get heat for this because I'm trying not to be stereotypical or sexist about it, but I feel like women too, more than men, have an interest in human stories and the interaction between people and that drama of relationships. And there's a lot of that in the true crime world. We're talking about loved ones killing other loved ones, husbands killing wives, wives killing husbands, and the deceit and the cheating and the behind the scenes stuff that led to all of this. And there is a lot of human drama at play, and I wonder if that's part of it too. Did I do that in a safe way that I'm
You
not
did
going to
it in
get
a
a lot
safe
of
way.
people coming
You
at
no,
me? Okay.
you did it in a safe way. Hopefully, I can too. But I think we are more naturally relationship. They
Yeah.
want to talk about it. We want to have a
Right.
community. We want to, we're the village, right?
Right.
And the village wants to know what's going on, what's happening. We want to talk about it. We want to express our feelings. We want to find out the details. I mean, I can speak for my channel with people. When we watch trials, we're all in it together. We're in it together. We want justice. We want to, fight for that in that way. Not to say the masculine still wants to fight for that too, but
Sure.
we have a different way about it. We want to communicate, talk about our feelings, and support each other and that. So hopefully that answered your question, but I
No,
think
it
that's
absolutely answered my question. I mean, as you were speaking, I think probably the greatest example I can give of exactly what I'm talking about is if I go hang out with my buddies that I haven't seen in a while, and I get home, my wife Tiffany will ask me, "Oh, how are they doing?" I'll go, "Great." Well, what is so and so up to? And I go, I don't know.
I know.
Like,
Yeah,
what are, how is his wife? I good, I
I
guess. Well,
don't know.
how are his kids? I'm like, I guess his kids are great. It's like we don't share any of that. We don't get into any of the details, and it's just neither better nor worse. It's just the different way in which I think men and women generally kind of communicate and share experience of life with each other.
It's true, and I think there's also a flip side too, what I was speaking to about the psychology of it. Um, with this masculine, feminine, I mean, masculine typically is like, well, I'm gonna beat up whoever comes, and I'll protect, and I'm this and that,
Right.
right? Whereas women, we want to know like what's gonna happen. I need to protect myself. So
Yeah.
how do I do that? There's an example here in Calgary, that's been quite a few people saying at a local mall that somebody's actually targeting women in the parkade, that
Oh,
they're
wow.
they're starting to so as a woman, I can speak from my experience. I've had some weird oddities in the last couple years of a guy trailing me or videoing me. You just kind of go, well, okay, well, where in the parkade? Well, what's he doing? Who's he attacking? What does he look like? Wh-
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking when I go to the mall, I got to go park at a certain spot. I can't go near the parkade. And what do I got to look for? This kind of thing. So I think it translates to also hearing other people's stories, these case files. That's like, okay, well, this guy did this and this. I got to protect myself, and it's just this underlying, even it could be subconscious that people are like not really realizing that's why, but they just have a comfort in knowing the details. They feel like they can protect themselves that way.
Fascinating.
It
Fascinating.
is.
I feel like we could do an entire podcast on just this because because true crime really is a huge genre that people are interested in. I mean, when you go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and you look at the top ranked podcasts, it's a lot of them are true crime. It's not just this niche part of the world of a bunch of people, like-minded people who are a little off like us, who are interested in all these gory details, but there's a lot of people who, for I
There
think
is.
any number of reasons that we've talked about and maybe many more, are fascinated with it. I don't know how we got off on this tangent, but I love it. But I do want to get back to kind of your journey. So OJ was a big part of your life, but an interest in the law was a big part of your life. But as you said, life happened. But at what point, and tell us what you were doing at the time, at what point did you say, you know what? I don't want to just be kind of a passive listener, viewer, consumer. I actually want to kind of be part of the conversation and contribute and start your own YouTube channel.
Well, this is the part that's kind of crazy because I had watched Chris Watts, then went off it for a while because I had to take a break. But then I didn't even know I was going to start It's a Crime. The morning I woke up and had watched a couple cases. There was this one case that I was really diving into, and I was getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And I thought, you know what? What if I just flipped on the camera and just say what I see, just talk about it? And at the time, this is the craziest part. I just had this nudge to do it,
Yeah.
and I just kept saying, okay, like I'm just gonna flick on the camera. Let's just talk. What's the worst that could happen, right? I'll upload it, nobody sees it, no big deal. And it was such a surprise that earlier or later in that day, my husband at the time comes to me and says, Linda, I didn't even know you were going to start a channel. I said, neither did I. Here I am, right? And
Yeah.
so I uploaded it. So it was so weird. I just had this urge to just speak about it. And
Were you an active like YouTube viewer at that point?
no,
No.
no, I mean, I I mean, I used YouTube. I had a little baby channel before, but it was like it wasn't even in the same genre, and um didn't really do it like this, right? So
Mhm.
it had been a while, and I just said, "I'm just gonna flick it on, like, just talk," because there was so much to it, I just wanted to get out. So I wrote it. I didn't even write it. I think I just read it, flicked on the camera, and literally uploaded, and then just kept uploading. But it was different at that time. 5.5 years ago, there wasn't really any news channels
Yeah.
on. There was, it was more like people just flicking on a live stream and talking, and then so when I uploaded and I started looking, I was like, what, no, nobody's really doing structure, and that's my analytical side coming out, like, what if I just put a timeline and figure it out this way, and then put it up and this kind of thing, and then it just kind of took off from there.
It is funny to think about how you only have to go back 5 years or so on YouTube, and it was an entirely different place, and you're right, it
Yeah,
has become a much more, and for better or worse, I'm not even quite sure, but it has become a much more, kind of, um, polished place. There's still kind of the wild west of YouTube, but I feel like
sure.
there's a lot of channels that are really putting a lot of money and production value and everything into YouTube that you did not see all that long ago.
Yes, yep, agree, and that's it was like I said, it was so different back then, there wasn't a whole lot of channels in that genre at all, and then you kinda slowly started to see the news channels come on,
Mhm.
professionals like yourself, back at the time that's coming on, and they just hopped on YouTube, and then it just exploded.
Yeah.
So here we are, yeah.
And
It
now it's
looks
become one of those things where it's almost like everyone has to have a YouTube channel. You see all of these kind of news anchors, they've all got a YouTube channel. You've got any TV show that comes out, it's like got an accompanying podcast and YouTube channel. It's just become one of those things that's almost expected from any kind of business or
yeah.
personality that they have to somehow have their foot in YouTube as well.
Yeah, it's kinda like the business card of the old days, right?
It
It's like
is. Yeah.
you have to have a business card. Now it's like,
Yeah.
"Yo, well, yeah, where do I find you on YouTube?"
Yeah. Yeah, you got a website, great. You got an
Right,
Instagram account, perfect. Where's your YouTube? Yeah,
right.
it's funny. Um, so what was the response from people? You're like, "I love this, by the way," that you just said, "I'm gonna do it, see what happens." What
No,
was the feedback? How did people respond?
it was amazing. Right away, people were commenting, asking for more, and I just went, "Oh my gosh, there's people that actually are interested in what I had to say." And it was kind of a couple things that was interesting about it. I quickly grew, really, really, really quick.
Yeah.
But I learned something about myself too, because they thought, like, I didn't they said something like, "I can't believe how your brain works, Linda," and they kept saying that. I thought, "What are they talking about? This is the way I think, right? I don't know."
Mhm.
And I still hear it to this day. It's like, "We just wanna know what your take on it is, or because of your brain or whatever." I don't know. But that was kind of a learning of myself, learning like, "Oh, shoot. I'm building a channel. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Uh, we're just gonna keep going." And it just kept going and going, and then all these major cases started to come out, like the Gannon Stout case and Lori Daybell. And that was soon after. That was within Gannon was 2 months after I started, and Lori was maybe 6 months after I started,
Wow.
not even that it started to come out in the news. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's going to take forever to figure out because there's so many people. At that time, there was a lot of info. Now it's just exploded. But
Yeah. Did it at a certain point, did it turn, it sounds like you're alluding to that, but it did it turn from, "This is just a kinda silly side project I'm doing where I'm sharing my thoughts," to, "Wow, I actually have to develop a channel here, and people are expecting something out of me, and I've gotta give them regular content, and this is maybe a job for me."
oh yeah, I know the first 90 days I did 90 videos,
Wow.
polished, edited. I shouldn't say polished, edited videos, but I still just spoke my mind on camera. At some point, it ended up being that, oh shoot, I got really, do this professionally and blah blah blah. And then I started becoming a little too perfectionistic, and then it took me longer and longer and longer to do these videos. Okay, well, maybe I'll hire somebody. And then now you're managing the people that you're hiring, even though they do an amazing job. And it just got to be a lot. And
Yeah.
then having life and going through a divorce and blah blah blah, all these things in the last 3 years. And yeah, so anyways, it just kind of went from flicking on the camera to like, holy shoot, like, I this
You
is
have a
something.
you have a career. You've just been a career just landed in your lap.
And I love it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's one of those things that I'm so passionate about justice. It was a normal, natural thing for me to go, "Oh, hang on here. Look what this suspect did. Look what,"
Yeah.
it was very natural for me to do that. Uh I think the difference between when I started and now is it a lot of creators or a lot of people who are doing YouTube channels maybe forget about the actual reason we're on there.
Mm,
But I mean, that's my own opinion. So it's just come a long way, and it's different. And going from flicking it on to now I have to produce, and then
mhm.
it's the produce, 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 and then there's burnout. So which
Yeah.
is very,
Yeah.
very, very real.
Were you working at the time when you flicked on the camera for the first time?
No, I actually had my son 10 and a half years ago. So when I started, it would be 5.5 years. Yeah. So like, no, I was staying home at that time. I used to work in oil and gas, believe it or
Oh,
not, using
wow.
my
Okay.
using my
I would not
analytical.
have guessed that. Yeah.
I ended up using my analytical mind for years
Yeah.
in that genre for quite a few years actually. But we are in Calgary, and that's part of the oil and gas industry.
Right.
So I did that for many years, and then I had my youngest, and then so I was working from home or hanging out at home, and I
Yeah.
thought I need to get this out. I need to say something and start ripping these details apart. And as I started, especially with the timelines, I thought, what if I helped law enforcement without helping them? Like,
Mm,
if I did a timeline, I started to realize they're watching the channel. So I thought, okay, well, what if I just create a timeline, and if they see it, they see it. They can just watch it instead of having
mhm.
to rip it apart. And I'm thorough. Like, anybody who knows me, they know I'm thorough. So I just started doing that and having comments and people emailing me going, "Hey, I watched your timeline," or "Suspects watch my channel." Back then, it was interesting.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's amazing too. I was talking to with someone about this earlier. It's one thing, and I think podcasts are fantastic, and I'm a big fan of podcasts, and we part of our
Mm.
channel is a podcast. But there's something very different between podcasting and being a part of YouTube. When you're podcasting, and correct me if you feel differently about this, but it's you're putting out content and you're working hard on it, and then you send it out there, and maybe you'll get somebody to leave a review, maybe you'll start to see your numbers grow and the amount of people downloading, but the amount of feedback that you get between audio only podcasting and YouTube is just night and day. And like you said, the idea that you find out that people are watching and perhaps learning from it, using it, people around the world are watching and interacting. Was that, how did that strike you?
Wow. I mean, again, I grew really quickly when I first started. So seeing the comments and feedback was quite crazy. I mean, we're talking anything from death threats
Oh my
to
God.
interesting, nice comments to "you look like Linda, you look like a house mom who needs to comb her hair," kind of thing. And you're like, "Wow."
Wow.
to
Yeah.
like, "Are you a man?" Like, they ask me these kinds of things, and you're like, "Oh my, this has nothing to do with
Incredible.
the story and what I laid out.
Mhm.
You don't like my hair, don't look." Kind of thing, right?
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful because the community that I do have is so caring, so kind, so smart, and but it's interesting. It's
Yeah,
in
and I wanna talk about that a little bit
Yeah,
more
sure.
about kind of the more difficult side of some of YouTube, but, I'm curious too, you're taking care of your kids, you're taking care of the house. This had to have, I'm imagining, have a point where it takes a turning point in your head where you're like, "Okay, I've gotta make a decision here. Am I jumping both feet into this new undertaking, or am I gonna step back from it?" Was that a struggle for you? Because it like you
N
said, it is so time consuming. Was there a point where you're like, "I gotta really think about the amount of time I dedicate to all of this?"
No, I was 110% like, "I'm in." So in the
Yeah,
beginning was like, "Whatever it takes.
yeah,
Whatever it takes." So but it was getting crazy because, I would do a video, like a timeline video takes forever. I just finished doing one this week, but it's one of those things where you're like, it's 6 in the morning. Now it's 6 p.m. Now it's 10 p.m. Now I need to edit. Now and this kind of thing that gets so crazy. So in the beginning, all in. But I mean, no holidays, no weekends, no, because I have something to build. And then once I
yeah.
build it, it'll be like, oh, all done, but it wasn't. Um, and then, in the last year with everything, it catches up to you when you're a one man show. I mean, I did try to build a team again. It was one of those letting steam. And then when you have life happen, like a divorce, like a move, like, friends passing away, this just takes a step back. And then at one point you look at it and go, I need to, I need to step back for a minute just to recalibrate and realize that life is passing me by.
Mm,
And I have such a passion for my channel, but at what cost? And then all these, things kind of started happening. And it was so weird because it was one thing after another. And every time I tried to come back to the channel, something else would happen. My dad would have a heart attack. I have another friend that's just got diagnosed and it doesn't have long to live. So it's just one thing after another. And I think there's two parts of it. Yeah, still do your best when you can, and also step back and take care of yourself and your family.
yeah,
So there's a hard balance for me. I still find it a really hard balance, especially stepping away when this is my bread and butter. But at the same time, if I kept going the way I was going to go, I wouldn't have been here on this earth just from being sick or burnt out or whatever.
no,
So I think the YouTube, without going in too much with the algorithm and all this stuff, I think a lot of creators have so much burnout because it's just constantly content, 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 which makes sense, but we are also human.
mm. Was it scary when you came to that decision and said, "I am going to step back," because of what you just pointed out, that it is, you get this idea in your head that if you aren't constantly pumping out content, somehow you're losing. If you're not growing, then somehow you're losing. Was it scary to say, I'm gonna walk away for a little bit, knowing, not knowing, I guess, what effect that might have on your income, on your livelihood?
I've never done that before.
Mm,
I'm usually the person who uh go 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 go. That's where the masculine part of me comes in. Go 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 go, strive 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 strive, perfect perfect perfect. And um for me to just go, I surrender. I can't. I just can't. As a single mom, as all of it, people relying on the content. It just got to a point where a video, instead of taking me 5 days to script, it was taking me 3 weeks to script. I couldn't cope, and then there's this, weird things happening. Like I was in a coffee shop one day. I did do a video on it, but I was in a coffee shop one day, and this real creep started started recording me.
Mm,
And I didn't actually compute at first, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, this guy's I think this guy's recording me." And so he actually had I know you'll know this. You know how when guys have, or could be girls too, because Letitia Stout had it, but after they murder someone, they have the black, black, black eyes, like,
right.
really he had that, everything in my neck just stood up, and I thought, "No, he's not recording me," and he did. Fast forward, I ended up, um, reporting this dude, and it was so creepy, but what was going through my mind was, after all this, like, who am I to say that that's not okay? Because it's not okay, but because I didn't give him permission, but I put myself on YouTube every single day.
Mm.
So I had that little, fight with myself going, "Oh my gosh, like, I don't know how to feel right now." And it was just one thing after another already in my life, that this was one more thing. And I was just in the coffee shop trying to script a video, just to get out of the house.
Right.
And after that, it just kind of kept going. I got sick. I had da 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 da. Just kept going, and I just said, "That's it. I can't. I can't. If I keep doing this, this is not good." And then every time I was like, "I feel like I'm a little bit better, I'll come back." My friend died. Tragic, tragic, tragic. Um, accident. And then I'm ready to come back, and then another thing would happen. So I'm learning about myself, I'm learning about the channel. I am doing what I can to come back, and I have, and people have been very supportive, to the point where I'm going, "Wow, I can't believe that."
Good for
Long
you,
time.
though.
Yeah.
Good for you because a lot of people would not have made that decision because of the fear, I think, of what I might lose everything. If I go away
What was that?
for a weekend, I'm gonna lose everything. And they don't do it, and then I think exactly what you were were saying could happen does happen, and they just get burnt out and they hit a wall, and then there's no recovering from it. There's no taking a break and coming back when you've actually hit that wall and just exhausted yourself.
That was just it. I think in 3 years, the first 3 years, I didn't even have 7 days off in total.
Incredible.
Total.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, how much can you keep going? And doing that, where you're just gonna hit the wall, and it's not good for anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people could see that in my videos, in myself, and because you just kind of become a robot and just want to get it done, instead of the passion, where I was in the first place. So now I have that to come back and do that. It's just, you have to. I never thought I would have, but I knew if I didn't, it would be a lot worse. It would just it yeah, it would be bad. So,
I got one more question and then I want to move on to happier topics. But
yeah,
you
sure.
had mentioned how that sometimes the feedback was, brutal and, criticizing you for your looks and things that had nothing to do with what your video was
Yeah.
about. How did you learn to deal with that? How did you, because we've talked about how YouTube is so immediate feedback sometimes. How did you learn to kind of compartmentalize that or deal with that or have a thicker skin and just continue to move on?
Well, that's just it. You have to have the extra layer. In the beginning, I was so naive to it, and you get feedback, good, bad, personal, and at first, it's very scary, because you're thinking, "Well, did I do something wrong? Like, I don't what did I do? Like, why are they?" And then they're talking about things that you're like, "Geez, I didn't realize, I look like this, or I didn't realize my hair looks like I'm a stay-at-home mom. What does that mean?"
Mhm,
This
mhm.
kind of thing. But then you get the flip side of death threats, because that's very, very real. And that came, I think, within the first month. Maybe it might have even been my third video in that we're talking thousands of comments, in one video, and I was trying to reply to everybody, and then you're coming across of some there's death threats, and um, just threats in general, and that's a very real thing, and a very eye-opening thing. At first, you know I didn't have thick skin at all. I was crying for quite some time, but then I had to get up and do another video. And then over time, it's better because you can block, you can just be like, whatever, it's no big deal. Sometimes I answer back just to give it right back. Not in any like a mean way, but just like you realize that this, you know, this doesn't work, right? Or whatever.
Right, right.
But I think for a lot of people, it is eye-opening to what kind of people are out there in specifically or especially in this genre.
Yeah.
Because while I have beautiful, a beautiful community, there's still people that are a little bit psycho and threaten. And we're talking creators too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's like anything too that we, especially, things that people get passionate about. You're going to have the vast, vast majority are wonderful folks, incredible community, loving, supportive, critical without being mean about it. I mean, that's part of this as well. We're going to talk about subjects
sure.
that are going to invite people to question your position on it. And then there's this small sliver of very vocal and mean folks who just kind of leave a comment and move on with their life, but it affects you in a way that you may not have anticipated. Well, I'm glad that you found a way to deal with all of that in a healthy way. Let's switch gears a little bit, and I
Sure.
want to talk about some happy stuff. I want to talk about what do you have some plans for the future for the channel? Are there cases that you're looking forward to? Is there different kind of content that you're working on? Tell us what the plans are.
For now, next week, in early June, we have Brandon Boudreaux's trial in
Yeah,
Lori Vallow Daybell, and so I've been following this case for 5 years, and
yeah.
so I will not stop until this puppy's put to bed. You know, so I always look forward to Lori Daybell because I truly want justice. And so that'll be covering live trials, which I found that well the first 3 years there wasn't any trials because we had to wait to get to trials. So the last year or two I've been doing the trials live streaming and I love it. I love it with
Oh
the
yeah.
community. I love it with just seeing it real time, hanging out all day watching court because I actually love watching the trials, as a lot of people do, and hopefully to have you on soon
Oh yeah,
because
I
we've
would
been
love it.
talking about that. We need to have you on, and more guests and more trials. I really like that a lot. I like the community aspect of it a lot. I think that's sometimes one thing that I'm missing when I do the videos, just the videos, is I still interact with the comments, but it's not the same. Like I want to chat with the community and so that's more in line with what I'd like. And then also we'll see about some different types of content just to balance my life out still. I'm still working on healing. So,
What is a typical, maybe this is an awful question to ask in this world, but what is a typical day or week look like for you? Do you, but I mean, I guess what I'm saying, I know it's ridiculous, but I guess what I'm saying is, do you start out and is there like a plan, or is it just a constant state of reacting to breaking things and what's happening? Or do you go, okay, listen, this case is going on and I want to do a video about that, but I also want to follow this trial? Or do you try to come up with a plan, or is it just a lot of pivoting?
I think both. Again, because I took some time off, it's really wasn't that structured back then. Um, Now I am, eye on the trials. What can I do for videos? How do I do that? I'm still a mom, so I have two kids. One's an
Mhm,
adult, but he's still, my child. And I
mhm.
have a young one in school still. So I'm being a mom. I'm having to get stuff done. I'm single, mom too. So I'm, having to do things around the house and whatever I
Right,
have to
right.
and then dig down into these videos. So it is structured, but then you have the odd, oh, we want to sponsor your video, so then you're dealing with contracts and you're dealing
Yeah.
with Yeah, it's kind of, I think people underestimate what a 20-minute video consists of, or a full,
Hours. Yeah.
yeah.
Hours
It
of work and labor
Yeah,
that can go into 20 minutes depending on what it is.
yeah, especially in true crime because it's so detailed and so much information, and you have to get it right.
Yeah.
You have to get it right. And yeah, so I think people are like, "Well, what's a big deal? It's 10 minutes." You're like, "No, no, the editor, back then when I did have one, that's 5 hours for a 20-minute video, and I have to script it, so that took
Yeah.
5 days or whatever it was." So,
Yeah. Yeah. It is, it's hard not to get a little discouraged too. I know from what we do, we'll put in hours in research and putting together a script and then finding all of the video and photographs and everything we want to add to it, and everybody
yeah.
working on their different aspects of it and editors and everything else. And then after all of that work and labor, it's a 30-minute video. And you're like, are you kidding me? I thought we would have 6 hours worth of content when we were done with all of this. And it's like, nope, all of that goes
Yeah.
maybe 30 minutes worth of stuff you can put out.
Yeah, and then it's like, "Okay, well, what you doing tomorrow?" You're going, "Oh my gosh, I
Exactly.
have to do it all over again."
Right.
And also not only just prepping all that work, but remembering it and knowing the case and
Yeah.
knowing these details because again, you say something wrong or, I mean, everybody's so super smart in the genre too, is who's watching. Like, that's
Yeah.
not how it went. This is not how it goes. So I think that's important too, and it's important to the families to be able to put out these details and um, and be able to accurately describe what happened.
100% agree with that too, because it's not like we're talking about, um, you know, we're following a comedy series that we just love to talk about. It's not like we're doing film reviews or something. These are real people's lives. Real families are forever changed by a loss. Real people are perhaps going away to prison for a very long time. It's like you're right. I think there's a responsibility to get it all right before you start talking about it.
Yeah, it's just so important, especially in the earlier years where I covered some of these and was able to talk to families and just see that what's happened, what how they feel about it, how this changed their life, and especially little Gannon, the Gannon Stout case. I'm not sure if you have followed that in Colorado Springs,
No.
but it was a young 11-year-old boy who ended up being murdered by his stepmom, who was absolutely maniacal and just um, unbelievable in what transpired. It's already hard for the families to go through these events, but then you have the suspect, upping their behavior in the most strange ways and concocting, fake people and all that. So at the end of the day, I think it's important to advocate for them for what we want to do, and that was always my intention in the beginning and now is to get the truth out and fight for justice for these people, and remember that there's somebody missing, there's somebody's loved one who died. And I mean, I will say I haven't been the easiest on Lori Daybell and that group and Letitia Stouck, but I always have the victims their best interest in mind and be able to out the details and the truth.
So well put. And I applaud you for what you have done, because I think if your aim is absolutely being met with the content that you put out and with the community that you've created. So keep it up. And I'm glad that you've been able to deal with the stresses and giving yourself the grace to take the time off and come back. This has been an absolute pleasure. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to share this journey with us and talk to us about everything, the hard work and everything that goes into putting on your channel. So people can find you obviously on YouTube. Is there, It's a Crime is the name of your channel. Is there anywhere else that do you have a website or social media or anywhere else that people can kind of follow what you're up to?
Yeah, they can follow me. I'm on It's a Crime on the other platforms, although like maybe just a video or two.
Okay.
I haven't really dived into that because again, one needs time to, but you
It
can check
takes
me out
time.
on yeah, you can check me on It's a Crime on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and also on Spotify. Um and yeah, I think and Apple Podcasts. But
Good. And I
thank
hope that
appreciate you and I
Oh,
appreciate
absolutely. And I
asking me
hope
on.
everybody listening takes the time to do that. Again, I'm a big fan. I think that everybody listening, if they don't already know about you, will become a big fan too. So thank you again.
Thank you, and we'll have to have you on
I look
when you
forward to it.
have time. Thanks so
Take
much.
care. We hope you enjoyed this interview. If there is someone you would like to hear from, a well known creator, or perhaps someone you feel that gets overlooked, please let us know in the comments. And please check out our playlist of past conversations. We appreciate you all. Please remember to like this episode and subscribe for more content like this. And thank you again for joining us for this episode of Courtroom Confidential Conversations.